Hey, welcome back to another episode of the Growth and Scaling Podcast. This is your host, Todd Westra, and this is going to be a fun one because we are talking about blockchain, we're talking about security and connection and all those things that have to do with blockchain, but not on the crypto side. We're talking more on the security and validation side than anything else, and it is fascinating because this is something I didn't know much about. I still don't know very much about, but I was grateful to learn from somebody who has a lot of experience in growth and scaling in this vertical and in this industry. For those of you tuning in, looking for some good tips and advice, this is a great one. Alisa comes from a background where she is, her family immigrated from the former USSR. She has a very optimistic entrepreneurial attitude. She's come in and she is just dominating in what she's doing and growing really, really fast right now. Her business is exciting. Her journey is exciting. And the way that she has been able to grow and scale her business is a fun journey to follow. So listen to this episode. It is a very interesting product. She's assembling an amazing team. She's right on the cusp of a growth phase that's exciting in terms of raising money. She bootstrapped this thing for the first few years and now has raised a round, looking at another round, and I think you're going to love the journey. You're going to love the story and the insights that she's had to go through to get her business to where it is today. So take a listen to this. We'll catch you on the flip side. Thanks for being here on the Growth and Scaling Podcast. Welcome to the Growth and Scaling Podcast. This is your host, Todd Westra, and I am so glad you're here today because we are going to interview an amazing founder or executive who is going to share with us their decisions that they made that exploded their growth. So if you need some inspiration, you want to hear how other businesses are doing it, this is the place to be, and we are glad you're here. Enjoy this episode. Hey, welcome back to another episode of the Growth and Scaling Podcast. Today, we're talking blockchain. We're talking all the cool stuff about crypto that people need to know, the backsides, the security, the everything else that you need to know about this stuff. We've got a specialist today with an amazing business. She's going to talk about how she's grown and scaled this thing. I can't wait to get into this because this is a topic everyone's talking about. Alisa, tell us who you are and what problems do you solve?
Well, first of all, I'm someone who hates crypto. How about that for a lead in?
I love it.
Yeah, well, we come around in the heyday of this crypto ICO revolution in 2016 and promptly backed away slowly. Mostly because the speculative aspect is something that scared the heck out of us. We are always thinking about the need to be the infrastructure layer. And instead, here we are trying to go and fleece people out of their livelihoods. Hell no. So, not to say crypto can't be good. It can. I'm sure it can. It just isn't good for us.
Well, there's so many types and there's so many ways to enter that world. It is frightening. And a lot of people have lost a lot of money in crypto.
That's exactly.
Tell us about blockchain, though. And what do you do in the blockchain world that helps solve that problem?
Well, let me say this. To us, crypto is like Yahoo, like Yahoo Mail is to the internet. Because at the end of the day, blockchain and in fact DLCs are what really is going to be the TCP/IP protocols, the very basic infrastructure of Web3. And that's where we live. That's the layer we are most comfortable in. And it's all about connecting diverse data silos into a single actionable data lake.
I gotcha. So when we talk about blockchain and we talk about the world of crypto and we talk about security and Web 3.0, I think everybody gets a little confused, myself included. I think of them all as being the same thing. Tell me about your business and what are you doing in this world of Web 3 and a blockchain and a cryptocurrency type model. Where do you fit in all of that? And how do you help people like me understand it better?
Well, what blockchain really is a way to trust no one but trust everyone. And so every single node on the chain can be it could be an individual user, it could be a big group, like academic institution, like a university, or it could be an enterprise, or a government institution. And each one of them can actually have more than one node. But each single node validates one another, and so keeps everyone honest. And we are that protocol that connects every single layer and makes sure that, the validation keeps happening. And in our case, in non-speculative way.
You provide the validation that every node on the chain is real, and that they're authenticated, and that, hey, if they're validating each other, just dive a little deeper into that. How does that help us?
Well, when we actually decided to go into the blockchain space, originally we were creating software for the publishing industry. And then we have seen what Amazon was doing to expand their ecosystem. We wanted to create a decentralized marketplace using third-party tools. Realized technology was nascent, but the need to validate the data governance was there. So we pivoted, developed our own infrastructure layer. But before we did that, we decided to go on a wild goose hunt and to basically see what other people understood to be blockchain. And as I keep telling people, one place we looked first was Reddit. Explained to me like I'm 5. And I'm sorry, they did not explain it like I'm a 5-year-old would understand. I was actually 35 or so at the time. I didn't get it either. And I think that was the main issue with adoption. Crypto bros, they got it. And they actually paid big bucks to get it. But when someone who is actually looking to build a business and use it with a specific use case in mind, let's say the provenance of IP or the basic trust in the ecosystem, come on, who is going to be able to really learn that quickly? And so for us, the big thing was to provide the same kind of ROI, but in a more green way, transparent way, cheap, and also the one that doesn't require a genius to really jump into. And by the way,
that's a very nice service.
Well, I'm not actually a developer myself. So I was actually coming in from the background of someone who just needs to use it. Of course, my CTO and co-founder, he got it, but that's not whom we actually were building it for. We were looking at for business developers. We're looking for project managers, etc. And by the way, do you know that VentureBeat is saying that soon 80% of business code by 2025 is actually going to be created by non-developers. And blockchain, for all it's actually a supply chain of data, is not even touching on that node. And that's pretty much our sweet spot.
Well, you're not like a lot of people, Lisa, where it's a matter of oftentimes founders of businesses are the ones that need their product or service. And by the time they got done figuring out how to do it themselves, they discovered that other people want to solve the same problem. So that's a common problem that you just solved with your own business. I love it.
Well, that's actually the case. You just need the provenance. I mean, just like, for example, you go on Yelp, right? Who trusts it anymore? That's what we're wanting to solve, the trust issue and the data governance issue.
Gotcha. I love it. Well, tell me about, as you've grown this business, you've been in business for what, 6 years now? Something like that? So 6 years, you developed the product, you have a go-to-market strategy, you've launched, you're going. Tell me about that growth journey that you've been on so far, and how has the different stages of your growth journey affected where you're going?
Well, for one thing, it actually, we pivoted in the very first year. We were supposed to be a B2C use case.
Interesting.
We were supposed to be that marketplace on blockchain that would democratize access of consumers to vendors and for vendors to consumer data. And when we realized that the technologies were nascent, we pivoted, became our first customers, you were saying, and really built out our own decentralized ledger technology, but then also have changed our pathway from a B2C to B2B and B2G. So that's pretty much the vision for it.
I love
it. And really, that you mentioned 6 years, and that's true. It's been actually that long. But 4 years out of that, we've been in stealth building. And there was a reason for that.
Okay.
Mostly because, we didn't want an ICO. We wanted to build. And that's what we did.
Right. So a lot of business founders are going to say, how do you go your first 4 years in stealth mode and still maintain operations? How do you make that happen? Did you have a raise of money? Did you have a rich uncle? Like, how did this work out for you to be able to go operate in stealth mode before you actually went public with your product?
Well, we bootstrapped up until 2020. Actually,
I love it.
And then we started raising. We raised a small round at the end of 2020, and then from there we were mostly client funded, which we still are. But we are thinking of a raise in this year.
I love it. So you have, growth journey for a lot of people. I would sadly say that the majority of startups raise money first and then figure out their product and then try to figure out their next raise. I love your journey. I love the fact that you bootstrapped most of those stealth mode years and were able to get the product kind of figured out before you went for a raise. How do you feel like that affected your ability to raise money? And how do you feel like this next round is going to be different than the first round that you raised?
Well, first of all, I think that the reason we decided to be in stealth and we decided to build was because we were afraid of speculation and running afoul of SEC. And turns out we were right about that. So that was a good thing. But at the same time, significantly hobnobbed us and kept us from growing as fast as we liked, because we were competing with groups that have raised, EOS has raised at its high day almost $6 billion, and here we are bootstrapping without a rich uncle to bid. And so
I love it.
That was difficult, but I think at the end of the day, it made us very robust and very agile and perfectly positioned for where the market is today, where no one's going to be tossing money at your scaling goals. They're going to look at what you're really bringing in a kitty. Right. And I think that's where we can shine.
Alisa, I love this. And for those listening, I want you to pay attention to this journey that they just took us down, because it really is a scary thing to raise money. And to your point, had you raised money to begin with and then took that sharp pivot, you may have lost the faith of your investors and probably lost traction on where you could go with the business. Mm-hmm. The value that you just expressed, Alisa, and being able to kind of explore your revenue and your fit in the market before you raise money, I think is a huge blessing to where you're going to go. And I think it's just a smart play for those listening. Thanks so much for sharing that with us. Now that you're public and the product is out there and you're adopting user base, what kind of goals have you set for that next raise? I know you talked maybe at the end of the year, maybe into next year, but where are you trying to get the business before you go for that next raise?
Well, we are already fully in revenue, fully profitable. So what I really need the raise for is pretty much improvements, yes, but then also more business developers and more marketers. So whether I do it through client revenue or I raise, that is our next big goal. And it's all about education. This is what I'm doing today. Right. I need to start talking to people and really teaching them what they can do with their technology and why should be doing it, and maybe why they shouldn't.
I 100% agree.
There is
100% agree.
We have zero churn practically, and that's because we have been very careful about engaging with our clients only if they need us. Because what's the point of getting our, goals, our hopes up?
So you're saying that identifying the avatar of your user is hugely important because you've got zero churn right now because you're actually serving the people that want what you do.
That's exactly it. I am, the whole FOMO thing is like, it's scary. People do jump in. Yes, they're afraid to miss out. But then the next is like, did we really need it? And here we are.
Right. Or did you really need that client? Or did you really need that? I think, Alisa, you're speaking so much truth to me. I love what you're saying in terms of knowing who you serve, producing product that they actually want, and not trying to shove that round circle into a square hole. You know what I mean?
That's exactly it. I think so many issues with blockchain and has been not just a speculation, but actually following through on the FOMO, and then pretty much burning down all the goodwill the industry had.
I love it. So losing goodwill. Let's talk about that for a second, because I think, and maybe this ties into the fact that you brought it up might tie into what are your big challenges, but how have during this growth phase, what has been one of the biggest challenges you've had to face? And is it a lack of goodwill or that you've lost from serving the wrong problems? Okay,
Not
tell
us,
us about
but
that a little bit.
Well, I think one of the big things has been being conflated with blockchain. So on one hand, they were hoping, of the people were hoping that we would be, for example, have a token, that we would be tradable on the exchanges. And the thing is, we are not. We don't even have a token. So part of it is actually dousing expectations. And part of it is actually dousing fears. Because, we are working, say, with, we got the Air Force Cyber. So the fear is, are we going to be speculative? Is it actually fully vetted? So on one hand, it's operating against what the vision they have for us, and then some of it is against the fears that they have about us.
I love it. I love that you talked about dousing expectations and dousing fears. How have you been able to do that? And was it? I would imagine at first it was a little bit negative to some of the people who thought you were going to be something you weren't. Mm-hmm. But tell us about the upside of that, because it has to also qualify your potential clients to the people that really need what you solve.
That's exactly it, because if we have gotten over our initial miscommunications, then clearly they need us. And that's why they've been staying with us ever since.
I love it. Alisa, I love this conversation. As you have grown the business and you kind of, you've overcome challenges, you've overcome revenue problems, you're totally profitable at this point. I guess as people that are listening who may or may not be in blockchain but are in other industries as well, they face some of these exact same problems that you've been able to hurdle and overcome. What advice do you give to other companies who are kind of in the same boat, thinking, we've set a bad expectation? How do we right the ship and make sure we're clear in our messaging?
I think I would actually have two pieces of advice. One, if you're really confident about what you're doing, do not be afraid to keep pushing forward. But the second one is, if you're not that sure, and if you think that maybe you're going in the wrong directions, do not be afraid to pivot. We didn't.
You might be.
Yeah, we actually pivoted, and I think that was probably the best decision we might have made.
Awesome. And right now, you are in the process of a big growth phase right now, is that right?
Mm-hmm. We're actually hiring right now, so please, if anyone's listening, come on, check out our advertisement and join us. I'd love to have you.
I love it. Hey, before we get to that point of closing this out, I know that for me personally, as a founder, every time I start a new venture and I hit a big challenge, there's always someone in my network, someone that I know and appreciate, who I love to give a shout out to. Is there someone in your circle who's been an inspiration to you as you've been trying to work through the bootstrapping and just kind of getting yourself to profitability? Who is that person?
Ooh, my mom. She actually, you can hear my accent, right? So I was born in the former Republic of USSR, and, it was difficult there to be entrepreneurial. Yet she was, and she was one of the first women developers in Russia, and actually one of the top COOs. And she, in the world that did not actually appreciate, entrepreneurship, and she rocked it. So, she's
entrepreneurship or women,
and she's my hero.
That is fascinating. I bet we could do a whole episode on just that story. It sounds fascinating. Alisa, I appreciate you so much for taking the time to be here. How do people get in touch with you, follow you? Is there something that you're doing online that people can pay attention to?
Yes, I'm on LinkedIn, so please join. I actually post daily. I made a thing of it. I haven't actually missed a single day in 2 years. And
Woo!
Yeah, right. And separately, please stop by, check out WishKnish.com. We are
Awesome.
welcome criticism, and we are actually welcome feedback. Please join us.
I love giving criticism and feedback, so you may be hearing from me, Alisa.
I'll be on the lookout.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. And for those listening, we are putting her connections and everything in the show notes below. So don't hesitate to get to know her, follow her, chime in on her daily posts, and give her some feedback. And thanks so much for being here. We look forward to catching you all in the next episode. Thanks so much, Alisa.
Bye-bye.
Hey, I hope that was helpful for you. I absolutely love and appreciate Alisa for her ability to grow and scale under such interesting circumstances. They had another product before that they were able to use to cash flow their business and bootstrap the business as far as they did. But there are moments where you just need to raise some money. I've been in those situations. In fact, I'm in that situation right now. I should be smart about my business, and maybe that's why I like this episode so much, but I should be a little bit smarter about not just building revenue streams from clients, but also raising a little bit of money to propel yourself faster down a path of growth and scaling. Very common to do. Most companies do it. So if you're one of those companies that's on the edge of trying to decide, should I just continue to bootstrap or should I raise a little bit of money, I would encourage you to go the path of the shortcut. Raise a little bit of money. Be careful about the equity you sacrifice, but with good terms, with good ways to go, I think you can do the same type of thing that Alisa's done here in growing and scaling her business. I am quite confident that they're going to see an exceptional amount of growth this year and in the years to follow. They've got a good product with a good solution. They focus on the people that they aim to solve the problem for, and they don't worry about all the other people on the sides that don't really matter as much to their business model. So smart, amazing advice. I hope you take that and plug that into your strategy of growth and scaling for your business. Thanks for being here. Please share the episode with anyone that you know of that could use a little bit of advice on how to go through those rounds, how to bootstrap your way to a point to where you absolutely need to take that step to raise some money, grow your business, and of course, putting people in play in your business who know what they're doing, see the vision, and can bring alignment to your organization. Thanks for being here. We look forward to seeing you on the next one.